I'm at 6598 Coral Bells Court, in Dayton, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. What we're looking for is any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyers. The access point here is an outside clean out on the side of the house. You can see it's right underneath the two windows, like right in between it. There is the front of the house. You can see where the gas meter is, and that is where the street is out there. So about halfway back on the right side of the house if you're facing it. And so I don't know if this is a sweep or what. I believe it is. So based off of where the camera is, I may end up trying to I think I'm going to I have a standoff on the camera, and sometimes with these cast iron cleanouts it can get stuck down there at the base of it, and you have to fight to get it out. So I'm going to see if I can remove the standoff and go from there first, because this is a sweep, which means basically it forces me to go one direction, which would be out towards the main, and so we won't be able to access the interior piping, which normally most of the issues are found outside, but with this being cast iron, it would be nice to be able to inspect the inside, because cast iron is the biggest problem with cast iron is just that it does rust, basically. And so the big problem we have with that is that you really have no idea of what the life expectancy of a cast iron line is, because it could be, you can't tell how thick the walls of the pipe are because it does rust. And there are all kinds of factors that go into that, as far as soil conditions and some chemicals that people put down their sewers can kind of elevate the process of oxidation and increase the rust. But in most cases, what we're looking for here anyway is if there are any holes in the cast iron. They used it for years, mainly between like the 40s and the mid to late 70s. They used it a lot on interior pipe. Usually it switches over to clay once you get out of the house. A lot of times they didn't use it all the way to the sewer main. So we'll kind of see as we go. So I think it's already changing over to clay there. Yep. And so you only have a few feet. I'm actually going to pull back and we'll zero out the counter, and that way we kind of know the footage. And so mainly what we're looking for here is just any visible holes or anything in that cast iron. It does look like this is open and flowing, and so, well, now I got a bunch of stuff on the front. We need to try to rinse the camera off here. There we go. I do think the bathroom is right inside this wall, and that's why. And so we're not missing out on a whole bunch of, there's not a whole lot of pipe under the floor, but I'll take a look inside in a minute and see if there's any other access, but I don't believe there is. Yeah, I don't see anything, but we're going to go out and we'll take a look at all the exterior piping. Then as we go out, you got about
Looks like we're only going to have about 6 feet of cast iron, which is good. And it switches to clay. Clay's really good. It's been around in sewer lines for over 100 years, so a lot of it is still in the ground and functioning. The only problem you have with cast iron, or I should say the biggest thing we see most common, is root intrusion, and that's because of there's connections about every 3 feet. The pipe sections are pretty short, and so there's just a lot of connections, and it gives when the packing around those joints breaks down, it tends to give an opportunity for roots to get in. And so this line does come out the side of the line, or the side of the house, and then turn almost immediately and go out towards the street. So we have a little bit of buildup and grease. It looked like back there was a little bit of like old root intrusion that was covered in grease. Here's a little bit of roots you can see on the bottom, like the left side there, kind of growing down into the flow line. It's not obstructing flow now, and this could be taken care of with a chemical, most likely. Root-X is the kind of the Kleenex version, you know, the Kleenex to tissue. But Root-X has been around for quite a while, and it does work pretty well. And that, I mean, one treatment, those roots were so minor, it doesn't need like an immediate treatment or anything, but it's just something that you could do maybe once a year or something to try to prevent the roots from growing in. But that was very minimal, and I don't see a whole lot of trees within range of you know, getting in really bad. There's a couple back here in the back that you would think it would be closer to the stuff by the house than out front. There's no trees directly out front, so those roots are coming a long way. But there's a couple really old trees that are very large that could be coming out this way. So I know it's blurry right now. I'm trying to get it rinsed off, but if nothing else, we can usually get the line all the way out to the main, and then there we go. And then once we do that, it's not as bad as you're pulling back, because you're not pushing stuff up in front of the camera, so you don't have any you know, you don't get all the grease and stuff pushing up on the camera, pulling backwards through it. There's just a connection there. Looks like we're diving, which means we're probably getting close to the sewer main here. You can look in the bottom left-hand corner, and it'll tell you a pitch. Right now it doesn't look drastic, but pretty even. And being in a cul-de-sac, sometimes it's a lot longer. It takes an awkward path to get into the main, because a lot of times the sewer main starts right in the center of the cul-de-sac, and so the line has to make some weird turns and stuff along the way. Oh, wait a minute here. I think we have a broken pipe, unless it's been repaired, or we are in a manhole. I think we're just in a manhole. Okay, I had me worried there for a minute. Yeah, that's where
we are actually in a manhole, and so they had broken out the top of the pipe when it entered into that manhole, and that's why that's missing. So that's not a problem. You can tell when we get to here and we're in the bench how it's wide open and you can't see any line between it. But just to verify that, I'm going to pause the video and then go out and verify that I can see that in the manhole. And so we're going to pause. I'm going to go verify, and then we'll finish up with the inspection on the pullback. Okay, so it is verified. It comes directly into the manhole there in the center of the cul-de-sac, and that's where, like, my camera is exposed. Now you can see it inside the manhole. So this is not, well, I mean, it's broken, but that's on purpose. So it's just to give access where it comes out into the bench of the that manhole. And so not a big issue. Trying to rinse this thing off here. I know there was some water around here. There's a little bit in the bottom, but it doesn't want to. There we go. So we'll take a good look at this on the way back. We'll try to move it around right here a little bit and get some more water on the front and rinse it, but there we go. But the line looked really good structurally. We found one little tiny spot of roots. The only thing you can really do about that, I mean, you could put some chemical down it, but it's not really something that's needed right away or anything. I mean, you could just wait a few years, maybe have it re-inspected just to check, or if you start to have slowdowns. I mean, obviously it's something you don't want to, you don't want to let it go forever. But I mean, a little bit of, it was kind of down in the flow line, but it wasn't in any way obstructing flow. So they were very tiny roots, a very small amount. So I mean, I'll mark it on the report. We will reference it, but it's not an issue. You just want to make sure that it doesn't become one. So again, you know, maintenance, preventative maintenance would be good. Maybe once a year, in this case every other year or something. Put some chemical down it, some Root X, and shouldn't have to worry about it. As you can see a little bit there, it looks like it's got some calcite layered on it, where it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just stuck there, and there may have been an old tree out here that had once been in there. There's that little bit there, at about 39 to 40 feet, a little bit on both sides. And so yeah, that's right where it turns. So that's probably right where when they put the line in, that spot's probably rotated a little bit, and so there's it's not as tight of a joint as the rest of them. And see, like this looks like could be some mineral deposits, or it could be old roots that are covered either with some grease or something that's bounced up. But I'm not really 100% sure what it looks like after the roots have been treated. Usually, from what I know, they don't have a whole lot of different look to them. They're just kind of melted back. So, but that could be an indication of some chemical treatment, because there's a lot of different kind of chemicals out there that are sold, and they have different ingredients. So but none of that was in the flow line. So again, I would just maybe take a look in another few years to kind of check root growth, make sure that it's not getting any worse. But if you do find some at that time, it's not a big deal. It just needs maintenance, which
Old sewer lines need maintenance, but structurally the line looks great. So we're back into the cast iron here. And again, the cast iron looks like it's holding shape pretty well. Now we're coming up out of the clean out, but that cast iron it looked like it was functioning, but again, like I said, you know, you gotta, just by the nature of the material, you never can be 100% about it, but it's working fine at the time of inspection. It is functioning properly at time of inspection. Doesn't look like there's anything in the foreseeable future that would cause any issues. But final note about cast iron is, because it rusts and it has those things on the sides, just the rust marks and all that, that they do have a tendency to makes it a lot easier for things to catch on those pieces of rust and stuff. It's not usually a problem with like toilet paper and stuff like that, because toilet paper breaks down in water and it disintegrates. But I give a public service announcement to about every one of these videos to say to never use wet wipes. You don't use them in new pipes, you don't want to use them then, but it's even more important in these old cast iron lines, because they can easily catch a hold of those wet wipes and they don't break down. As much as they say flushable, they can get caught, and once they get caught and kind of dry out a little bit, stuff can build up behind them. So if you're going to use them, just throw them in the trash can, but you don't want to flush them down cast iron sewer line. They can cause a lot of problems. So but to finish up, the line looked great structurally. You had that little bit of roots at about 39 feet, which is not an emergency, just something you want to pay attention to over the next few years and make sure that it's not getting any worse or, you know, growing out of hand. But as far away as the trees look to me, it can continue to grow, but that was the only spot that I really noticed any kind of noticeable root intrusion. So just set up a maintenance schedule, or at least a schedule to take a look at it in a few years, and go from there. So that'll end the inspection at 6598 Coral Bells Court in Dayton, Ohio.